Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And this right here is Representative Nancy Mace. Representative Nancy Mace out of South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. She ran a pro-Trump campaign in a district Donald Trump won by 15 points in 2016 and 2020. She was able to defeat incumbent Representative Joe Cunningham in the process. And she has some very interesting things to say about the direction of the party, and I want to give my take on it, but first I have to tell you guys about my friends over at Noble Gold. Now, 2021, it's a brand new year, and it deserves a fresh start. We're going to have a new look at everything, and there's going to be a new administration in Washington, so it may be time to look at Noble Gold security option. Yes, security. It's like damp proofing, but it keeps the government from your savings, like the damp from your floors. How? By using gold and silver in your own IRA, you insulate it from the markets, and if anything bad happens, you're safe and dry. COVID, market crash, vaccination worries, doesn't matter, you'll be fine. Remember, if you want to play it safe and protect your investments, take out a gold IRA this month, and Noble Gold will gift this stunning, solid, silver 5-ounce Apollo 11 commemorative coin from the U.S. Mint. It's quite something, I'll tell you. So visit noblegoldinvestments.com right now and find out more about future-proofing your investments. So it's important that we take a look and see what Representative Mace had to say today about the Republican Party and about the future. And she virtually attacks Donald Trump in this clip. I'm going to play it right here. Take a listen, and then we're going to analyze it.
Well, I will always invoke Reagan's 11th commandment, and I won't call anyone out by name, but I do believe that the Republican Party, that there has to be some reconciliation within our party to recognize that, number one, we have a problem in this country, even within our own party. Number two, that we need to take responsibility for our words and our actions. And three, we need to stop being part of the problem and start being part of the solution.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there, 23 seconds in. She says she's going to invoke Reagan's 11th commandment. So again, we have this drawback to Reaganism. A lot of the establishment conservatives, they've been promoting Reaganism. I talked about this in several videos. I talked about the Daily Wire article and the potential caveats about Reaganism and trying to pursue that type of agenda in 2021. And while Reagan was a great man, it's not perfect. But that's beside the point. She's saying that she's not going to call out a Republican by name, don't speak ill of any Republican. That's what Reagan's 11th commandment typically refers to. So she's technically calling out the president here. She is saying that President Trump is the reason why the GOP is in shambles, she says. And she says the GOP needs to stop being part of the problem and start being part of the solution. This is exactly what white liberals typically like to say about BLM and things like that. They say, oh, white people need to stop being part of the problem and start being part of the solution. That's typically left-wing rhetoric, and she's trying to use this rhetoric to appeal to the left because in her mental worldview and her moral compass, she cares more about the left and the establishment liking her than she does actually standing up for actual conservative populist principles. Nancy Mace right here, she ran a campaign as a pro-Trump conservative. I wanted to play this ad right here. This is a 14-second ad. This was Nancy Mace when she was trying to win the Republican primary. Take a listen.
Helped elect President Trump. In the legislature, Nancy Mace fought for lower taxes, opposed wasteful spending, and protected our freedoms. In Congress, Nancy Mace will help President Trump take care of our veterans.
So she is invoking the president. She is saying that she helped elect Trump. She's taking pictures with Trump, and she's putting him out there on these brochures, I assume, when she's campaigning down in South Carolina. And she's talking about the typical, establishment conservative talking points that somehow resonate with people. Obviously, like lowering taxes. I like lower taxes. Everybody likes lower taxes. They always talk about, fiscal conservatism, wasteful spending, and things like that, even though they usually don't do anything about it when they get to Congress. But that's beside the point. Looking at Nancy Mace, she ran a pro-Trump campaign, and then the second she gets in office, a couple weeks later, she stabs the president in the back. She stabs the president's supporters in the back. She says the only reason she didn't vote for impeachment was because it was too rushed. And this is the problem. Nancy Mace, I believe, had Donald Trump's endorsement in the 2020 election, and she stabs him in the back the second she gets into office. This is the problem with so many conservatives. The Tea Party in 2010 was largely astroturfed by big billionaires. It's an important thing that we look and try to identify what's actually going on in these primaries, who's exactly being bought out by the special interests, who is faking their support for, populist causes or Trumpism or whatever it is, because so many in the Tea Party actually did. And it was funded by big business. It was funded by all of these billionaires that didn't really care about conserving anything, a lot of fiscal libertarians and things like that. And eventually a lot of the Tea Party ended up not exactly being as conservative as they campaigned on back in 2010, back in 2014. And I can already sense that something like the Tea Party will be coming up, a fake populist movement that will try to co-opt, a usual America First agenda in the 2022 midterms, because I could obviously see that. Because these people, they want to get rid of Trump, they want to get rid of Trumpism, they want to go back to answering to big business, they want to go back to answering to the mega donors the way that people like Mitt Romney did. They want to go back to trying to appease the left. They want to go back to operating within the left's moral framework. They want to go back, first and foremost, to being the Democrat Party's Washington Generals when it comes to the presidential elections. Take a look at 2012, Mitt Romney. Your supposedly moderate northeastern governor, Mitt Romney. In 2012, he was supposed to appeal to the independents in the suburbs and bring home the victory, and he did better in the suburbs than Trump, but far, far worse than him in a lot of the rural parts of the nation, a lot of rural areas, and he failed miserably with Hispanics in many places like, southwestern Texas and in Florida, and he lost Florida. He even lost Ohio, and he lost Iowa by a likely margin in the 2012 election. He also wasn't winning states like Indiana, Missouri, and Montana by a completely safe margin here. Looking at 2012, Mitt Romney failed on the map completely. 2016, Donald Trump won. This is the map in 2012, 2016. And the establishment Republicans are going to sit here and tell us that Trumpism is failing? I mean, the electoral map was hacked by Trumpism. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania were in play. Even Nevada became a state that's even, more in contention now. It's potentially going to be a flip in 2024. Florida is now moving towards likely our status. Texas, even though the corner is turned in the suburbs, Hispanics are joining the movement, and the Rio Grande Valley voted arguably more to the right this cycle than it did back in 2004 in many counties when you had Bush running, the popular governor of Texas that was very popular among Hispanics. So ultimately, you can see here there's a realignment in full effect, and Trumpism is helping accelerate that. Issues like immigration and trade. The establishment neocon Republicans, on those issues, they want to go back to the days of Bush. They want to be pro-legal immigration, even though legal immigrants typically vote 70-30 in favor of the Democrats. They want to go back to the days of free trade, which is not popular in places like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Trump is a pro-industry of those areas. He campaigned on bringing jobs back to those communities, and as a result, he won the election. And even taking the 2020 results at face value, when you have COVID, when you have massive, massive turnout from low-propensity voters due to the mail-in voting system, Trump still was 40,000 votes away from winning re-election. If he had flipped enough votes in Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin, even taking the results at face value, Donald Trump would have been re-elected for another 4 years, and that would have been roughly 45,000 votes. That would be 0.6% across 3 states. Now, if COVID did not happen, Donald Trump likely would have won the election by a landslide. Polls at the time, Wisconsin, most of the polls in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania were tied, and we know, given the error in those, polls in those states, Donald Trump probably would have won Wisconsin without COVID by 3 to 5 points, Pennsylvania by 2 to 4, Michigan, he would have won it. Even Minnesota, New Hampshire could have been in play, and I think he would have won the state of Nevada, even with Parscale at the helm, even with a lot more establishmentarian figures within his administration calling the shots. I still think without COVID, no matter what happened, Donald Trump would have won convincingly. So this idea that purging Trumpism is going to save the Republican Party is ridiculous. Trumpism revived the Republican Party. They put them on the map in many places. I know some people are going to say, what about Arizona? What about Georgia? Because those are 2 states that have moved away from the Republican column. Even, a state like Texas has gotten a little bit more Democratic, although Texas may be turning the tide. And if you can, if Ron DeSantis is the nominee in 2024, if you have somebody more optical than President Trump on some issues, then they probably could turn the corner in the suburbs, even if you do run Donald Trump with the Latino trends and potential suburban trends coming to a halt in some places, given the popularity of the Biden administration, then Donald Trump could easily win the state of Texas by more than he won it by in 2020. So looking at the election map even now, looking at it in 2016 and comparing it to 2012, obviously, we know that Trumpism is the answer for electoral success for Republicans. Looking at Virginia, looking at Colorado, Romney and McCain couldn't even win those. Romney would probably lose Virginia and Colorado today. He probably would win the state of Arizona and Georgia, maybe by a little bit more. But you probably would see losses across the board in places like Florida, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania wouldn't even be within 5. Even with trends, I'd be surprised if Romney was able to win Ohio or Iowa at this point. So a Romney-esque candidate, even a Nikki Haley-esque candidate, is really going to struggle in many of these places in the Rust Belt. Even if they do a little bit better in the suburbs here and there, they will fail in the rural areas. People like Nancy Mace are electorally illiterate, or they're just answering to the donors' interests on things. They want to go back to the false dichotomy of neoconservatism and neoliberalism. And that's really what this tells us. These politicians, you cannot trust them. This is why people need to be smart about the primary. This is why people need to understand who's funding certain candidates. This is also why people need to also understand that some of the, populist candidates that you'll see will be fake populists. Some of the Trumpian, Trump-supporting candidates you'll see will be turncoats. You can look at Nancy Mace for a clear prime example of this. So you see these candidates, they get into power, and they'll turn their backs on you, and the media will love them for the time being. The media will love the Republicans that they deem acceptable. The media will be just fine with them. But the Republican Party nationwide will fail under their leadership. They will return to the days of being the Washington Generals in the election, especially in these Rust Belt states. Mitt Romney is not going to be able to beat Joe Biden in 2024 or Kamala Harris in 2024, especially with the Trump movement in full effect. Because if you see them nominate a neocon, I think a lot of members of the Trump coalition, including myself, would strongly consider voting for the Constitution Party or another America First third party. So the GOP needs us, they'll have to live with us, or they will be dead on arrival on default. So beware of these politicians and exactly what they are saying, and also who funds them. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media, become a member, donate to the Patreon or subscribe, star links in description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.